Hi, I'm Charles Thomson. I'm a fourth generation Caucasian Australian who's migrated to India. That's right. We've all got a soft spot for the Golden Girls. I mean, that's an old comedy, an American comedy, and I mean, it's eternal. We can all sit there and watch and laugh. But there's one episode I remember, and actually that was shot quite a few years ago, when they can't decide what to eat. So what do? They go to a Thai restaurant. So what that establishes is that there were Thai restaurants quite a few years back in the United States. Now, I was basically kicked out of India at the age of 24, and I was sent back to Australia. And I was basically a white Indian with no skills. So I started a business, flopped, started a business, flopped, did that 4 times. The 5th time in Sydney, I started a Thai restaurant. And I ended up serving 1,000 meals a day. So anybody in the last 20 or 30 years who's lived in Sydney and eaten Thai food probably remembers me and probably remember me serving the food. So of course, in the beginning when we first started, there's only 2 restaurants in Sydney. But now I think there's like 5 or 10,000 of them. So I had to learn to adapt. And one of the first things I learned was, because we were a nation of then suddenly bringing in a lot of migrants, is to recognize who was coming in front of me and saying hello, if it was an American or a Brit or a Tamil or an Indonesian, in their language, and understanding their food. Now naturally, with all of that going on, I became very curious. So whenever I got a break, I would get on a plane and go for a travel experience. So one of the things that I've done, and it's a suggestion to all of you, is I would go and find a really nice hotel in a big city. It could be Bangkok, it could be Singapore, it could be Jakarta, and I would do a wonderful deal with them where breakfast was included, book 3 nights, get 2 nights for free, something like that. And then for 5 days, I would walk the city, just walk that city and visit the street food. And all I was doing was looking for recipes and ideas to bring back to Sydney to serve people. So that really brought an urge to travel. But amongst all of this, I would regularly go back to India. And I tell you what, there is no place on the planet like India. I've been to China also, but there's a big difference. What I say to people is, if you go to China for 3 days, you love the place. If you stay there too long, you feel a bit detached. If you arrive in India, for the first 3 days it's hell, but every day you stay, the place grows on you. So you just like to travel, you know. And a couple of tips for all of you guys. If any Indian ever invites you to a marriage, and it's a proper Indian marriage, never say no. It's an experience of a lifetime. Tell them a couple of things. You want the groom to be on a horse or an elephant, and the girl has to come in one of those little hand-carried little things with all the flowers on it, and they have to dress you up like Indians. And I'm telling you, and they go on for 3 or 4 days. It's just a riot. So this is my first tip. My second tip is, if you ever come to India, get out of the big cities. Nobody likes the big cities. Even the Indians don't like the big cities. And go either up into the Himalayas, into the deserts of Rajasthan, down Kerala. If you're into yoga, go to Bihar. There's a big school there. And this place is mind-blowing. And the interesting thing is, sometimes when we're working and we're really heavily involved in our business or whatever we're doing, we need to go in a completely different space of mind. And let me tell you, when you travel and you go to a place like India, it completely changes your consciousness. From the moment you wake to the moment you sleep. And the last Marigold Hotel is literally true. I mean, my Indian friends would probably not like me telling you this, but it's literally true. I'm sure you've all seen the last exotic Marigold Hotel. The place is a riot. And it's absolutely so intense and so joyful. And if you're overweight, just don't worry. Somewhere you'll get a little bit of pot belly and you'll lose weight. Look at me, I'm quite slim now. So it's a wonderful place to lose weight, right? and the people here. You see, in Australia, we're very open. I'm sure many of you Americans have been to Australia and you've traveled. It's a great country, but we're a little bit stiff sometimes in communications. In India, the moment you smile, you'll be surrounded by 100 people, all wanting to take their selfie with you, you know? Yeah, so it's a great place. So I've loved my travels. The other thing which I found quite extraordinary in my travels through Southeast Asia is how much ancient China and ancient India have had an influence on all of these countries, whether it's Thailand, Vietnam, Laos, Malaysia, Indonesia. A huge influence. And if you're into architecture, history, that's been a real eye-opener. And of course, food. If you're a foodie, the types of foods here, and I must tell you a story. I was working for this Indian company, and they had these American investors. And these typical two guys, absolute giants in suits and ties, had probably never eaten anything but big hunks of meat in their life. And I said to and the CEO says, what do we do? Where do we feed them? So I said, take them to these, there's these Bikaneers or Haldiram restaurants that are vegetarian. Don't tell them they're vegetarian, and just put them there. Every time they come to India, they want to go there. Why? Because they eat something they've never eaten in their life and they enjoy it. I mean, one of the big problems I face in Australia and we're facing in America is when we go into these big shopping malls and these food courts, it's all processed food. It's not freshly cooked. What you want is something new, freshly cooked in front of you and served. We don't want microwaves. We want stir fry, right? Thai does a lot of stir fry. That's one of the reasons it's a great hit. So yeah, so it's just, I wanted to give you a little bit of a different perspective. So Australia is a great place to travel and India is a great place to travel. And I would say they're on the two different sides of the spectrum. So if you're thinking of traveling in the world, these are the two countries you can't miss.